Thank you very much. It's my truly pleasure to be here because of a number of reasons. And this presentation is very simple. Even I can follow it. And it's about groundwater. And I'm delighted to hear a lot of presentations about groundwater. I didn't expect that here. Usually, I really have to push hard and to advocate for groundwater. But there are few presentations of groundwater, so I'm very happy about that. So I can talk about something else. I can also talk about our experience in the Netherlands with the same type of center. I'm avoiding the word second category center because I just don't like to be a second category. We are not second category. We are the first row runners.
Better second, that two is more than one.
Oh, in that sense, yeah. Well, I mean, looking at you, I agree completely. And so I'm coming from IGREC, which people from this region like to tease me saying, oh, what's that, IGRAC? IGREC is International Groundwater Resources Assessment Center. It's based in the Netherlands. It's a UNESCO and WMO groundwater center. And since 2003, so that's almost 10 years. So we have some experience about setting up a center and running a center, trying to find extra funds and running international projects, etc. And I hope that we will be in position to exchange our experiences and do things together, which is one of the reasons that I'm here. Our mission is to facilitate and promote global sharing of information and knowledge required for sustainable groundwater resources development and management. What does it mean in practice? That means that we are trying to facilitate exchange of information over the borders and using contemporary information technology, and our main activities are transboundary aquifer assessment and groundwater monitoring. We receive financial support from the government of the Netherlands, and we are in-house partner of UNESCO IG. Well, I'm seeing Branislav quite often when one of us is not traveling in Delft in the Netherlands. This is our portal, so everything you wanted to know about groundwater internationally on global level. And that's what I would like to stress just in a few words. Groundwater from global perspective. Because when we talk about a UNESCO center and an international center, well, regional center, we have to take at least regional view, and global view is just putting a few regional views together. So I will not talk much about groundwater and importance of groundwater because I see that you are very knowledgeable of groundwater, so I'm not going to preach to convert it. But I always find very important to stress a few facts. And one of them is this 95% more or less of all drinking unfrozen freshwater reserves is groundwater. And the half of population every day drinks groundwater. And groundwater is invisible, so it's not very sexy. And we don't think about groundwater every day, but it's very important. So looking from the global perspective and thinking of climate change and adaptation measures, then certainly we have to think about regeneration and buffering characteristics of groundwater systems, and about managing aquifer recharge, but also we also have to stress that it's crucial for sustaining wetlands and vegetation, and provides baseload to rivers. And also, living in the Netherlands, but in the other parts of the world, strengthens soil matrix and prevents seawater intrusion. I will complete my short global perspective just with one map. I hope it's visible, not really from this angle, but this is the map of transboundary aquifers of the world, current state, update this year. And a colleague from Korea was mentioning transboundary aquifers and conference at UNESCO 2 years ago, which we attended together. And at this moment, there are about 430 internationally shared aquifers. And we know that it's not easy, let me put it euphemistically, to make agreements always about sharing surface water resources. It's great what Danube Commission, River-Based Commission has done in the last few decades, or Rhine River-Basin Commission, but it took a few decades. And imagine about groundwater, because you can't notice if something is changed. And sometimes it takes a few years pollution to come to the other state. So what we are trying is to facilitate this process of assessment and management of shared internationally shared aquifers. And just one maybe sentence which I'm not mentioning at the other places, but I would like to mention here. Sometimes people say, especially in this region, you know, we have such a tough history, and it's very difficult to reconcile. With all respect to tough history of this region, there are tough histories all over the world. Central Asia, Eastern Africa, South America, very, very tough histories, but people come over that and work together. Okay, a few words about groundwater in the changing world. Very simple. We have global change, and especially population growth and climate variability. To my mind, population growth is the issue of the future. And there are increasing pressure on groundwater resources. Of course, you can't look at those two separately. And then, okay, what are the climate risks to groundwater? Of course, reducing recharge, there's seawater intrusion, but very often we forget demand. Demand is going to increase substantially. It's already increasing. And then anthropogenic drivers like population growth, food demand, and land use change. And this is a conclusion of actually two panels of intergovernmental panels of climate change saying that groundwater should receive more attention, and I'm glad to see that attention here. This is just a snapshot of the global hydrological model. So it's not that we don't have a knowledge of what is going on a global scale, but still these models are using simplistic characterization of groundwater, and there are serious doubts about their predictability. So an over-evaluation of proxy information which are used in these models. In the last 2 or 3 decades, there was enormous achievements. There were enormous achievements in remote sensing, but remote sensing is helping surface water hydrology much more than groundwater hydrology. And so even GRACE and programs like that, well, they are very valuable, but still they have limitations. Therefore, what we are pledging for is more simple, old-fashioned terrestrial groundwater monitoring. And I will not talk about divers, I will not talk about telematic transmission of data, but we really need more reliable data from the sites. So that's the reason that our center, and this is our second main activity next to internationally shared groundwaters, we started a program, Global Groundwater Monitoring Network, and we are rolling out that program in various ways all over the world. The most important is to remember that it's a participative program, and a center like this one can function optimally only if this participative is really something which is implemented. Just a few words about, if you talk about adaptation measures on those where groundwater plays a certain role. Starting, of course, with managing aquifer recharge and multiple benefits, not only the storage of the water to bridge over the dry periods. There are more benefits there. I will not go into details. Then we have a land use change, where also groundwater with a certain combination with certain crops plays a role. And of course, integrated water resources management. This is never-ending story, but it's still crucial for optimal management of river basins. I could talk more about artificial recharge, and especially it's called nowadays 3R as a concept: recharge, retention, and reuse, and on various techniques which I use. Some of these techniques are very well developed. For instance, in this region, in embankment infiltration, in Makiš and in Belgrade, you have decades of experience with that. Dutch, they have a lot of experience with the dune areas. In Africa, they're experienced with the sand dams. So all kinds of techniques where groundwater can be managed. So just a few conclusions about IGREC and our activities, and a small message to our colleagues in Belgrade. Global climate and human impact on groundwater resources doesn't stop at country borders. And that's also in this region very vivid. We were conducting mapping for first and second assessment of internationally shared waters for UNECE, and this region is covered by internationally shared aquifers. There is a general need for expansion and optimization groundwater monitoring networks. Then artificial recharge techniques can be widely used to tackle water shortage in various climate and geological environments, if we talk about Center for Climate Change Adaptation. And this is why we facilitate transboundary aquifer assessment, develop global monitoring network, promote use of 3R techniques, and hopefully enough reason to join us in these efforts. Thank you very much.